So we're here at the open source park here at CeBIT 2011. So I saw this Microsoft and I was wondering, is that a mistake or?
No, it is not a mistake at all, so excuse my voice. I was already talking to a lot of open source developers today, so it's not a mistake. Microsoft is actively participating with open source. We support open source communities in order to make Windows the universal platform for proprietary software and open software.
So you mentioned that SourceForge is the biggest place for open source projects.
Right.
And most of them are actually Windows related.
SourceForge has approximately 460,000 different active open source projects and 350,000 out of this 460 running on Windows. Furthermore, we have our open source hosting platform called Codeplex, and we currently have more than 18,000 open source projects running on Codeplex. 18,000.
18,000.
And all these projects enhancing our own products like Windows Server, SQL Server, Microsoft Office.
So Codeplex is not for hosting Linux products? Linux projects?
No,
it's only with Windows-related projects in there?
Absolutely.
Windows, is that a rule, or?
Windows, no, it is not at all. And there are a lot of interoperability bridges which connect Linux and Windows, that's for sure. But basically it's an open platform for open source projects, and the purpose is to connect both worlds.
Does Microsoft put a lot of money in open source projects? Like finance some apps and stuff?
Yeah. So we support open source communities and projects in different ways. One way is that we actively participate by transferring some thousand lines of code which were built in our open source technology center. We support open source foundations like the Apache Foundations actually with money, and we support developing open source projects on the Windows platform by contributing and supporting open source communities.
So Microsoft is it 100,000 people or something like that, or 60, many people, many thousand?
Actually, approximately 100,000.
And how many of these work on open source?
So I'm the open source strategy lead in charge of Microsoft Germany. There are approximately 60 to 80 in every country which are in charge implementing the worldwide open source strategy in their country. But in addition, we work closely with our products groups in order to implement open source in our products or build interoperability bridges.
All right. So because Microsoft has some of the coolest R&D people and places, right? And some of that stuff you give out for free.
R&D is research and development.
Do you? Like, if you have some cool ideas but you don't want to monetize it through proprietary, you can open it up? Does it happen?
So basically Microsoft is a proprietary company. We're investing heavily in R&D.
Yeah.
We invest $9.5 billion US dollars per year. What means our business model is actually a licensed business model. But this does not avoid us from being open. And as I said before, Microsoft has changed as a company and become more open.
So Microsoft has become more open, is becoming more open. Does that mean the Windows 8 will be open source?
I don't believe so. Our open source strategy is an open edge strategy, what means our core is closed and the edge is open. We're doing this by opening our protocols with more than 1 million lines of code on MSDN. We are doing this with building inter bridges, and we are doing this with supporting standards. Microsoft has more than 1,000 certificated employees which are supporting more than 150 standardization bodies like ISO, W3C, ANSI, and so on.
All right, and you mentioned Silverlight. Even though the core is not open, the edge is, and somehow you facilitate the implementation on Linux, for example, and the Moon and all that, and you're not against. And Microsoft even puts applications on Android. Does that make any sense?
Two different questions. Yeah. So there's a nice little Intel project which is called Eclipse Tools for Silverlight, which enables Eclipse developers to use the Eclipse IDE and build their applications on the Silverlight runtime. This is our model, which is called Open Edge model.
And this is where you at Eclipse right here. It's is a tool that developers use, right?
Exactly, and there's another tool which is Desktop. Desktop is built on the Mylen Eclipse project, which is actually the most prominent Eclipse project, or one of the most prominent Eclipse projects. And there is an add-in for Visual Studio which enables Eclipse developers to use Desktop and build their applications with the Desktop processes and task controlling with Visual Studio.
And Eclipse is the most popular tool for developers. And Visual Studio is trying to visualize the way you develop a software somehow. Is that a little bit how it is? And Microsoft is putting a lot of R&D to help developers, no matter what they develop, right?
Right.
Not only Windows stuff.
Applications which of course run on Windows, and there are a lot of Java applications which are able to run on Windows, and this is one possibility you can do it.
All right. Thanks a lot. Now I understand why you were here. Okay,
perfect.